Okay, now I'm going to show you the structures passing through the extensor retinaculum that's present in the dorsum of the wrist. Okay, because I already told you the difference in flexor and extensor retinaculum is that flexor is transverse band and extensor retinaculum is an oblique band. Both are modifications of the deep fascia of the hand at the wrist. So here you see is the extensor compartment, right? So the extensor retinaculum has been cut out, right? So after removing the extensor retinaculum, as I already told you, that was being compartmentalized into 6 compartments from lateral to medial. You know, numbering in upper limb is from lateral to medial because of the thumb, the position of the thumb. So first compartment, because it has been, you know, this retinaculum was like this obliquely from radial side to ulnar side onwards. It has been reflected out. Now the first compartment, you can just identify the structures if you know the structures emerging from the 6 compartments. From the first compartment, you know, there was like the 2 tendons emerging out, and I've already told you that these 2 tendons will be abductor pollicis longus and extensor pollicis brevis, right? Then the second compartment is actually for the 2 tendons reaching onto the base of the second and third metacarpals, and they will be, you can see here, they actually, you know, this one is passing below here. So this is extensor carpi radialis longus and extensor carpi radialis brevis, the 2 tendons which pass out from the second compartment. Look here, these are the 2 tendons, right? Can you see it? Like these are the 2 tendons. These 2 tendons, extensor carpi radialis longus and extensor carpi radialis brevis. So extensor carpi radialis longus reaches to the base of the dorsal aspect of the second metacarpal. Extensor carpi radialis brevis reaches to the base of the middle phalanx. And these 2 tendons, they are arising from the lateral supracondylar ridge of the humerus, and they antagonize a single muscle here on the palmar side, and you have a single muscle here, that is flexor carpi radialis. Here you have 2, extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis. So these 2 tendons, they are the content of second compartment of the extensor retinaculum, right? Then the third compartment, I told you, it is only single tendon that emerges out by winding around the dorsal tubercle of Lister, and this one is extensor pollicis longus. Now in case if they ask about the origin will be easy, like, you know, this is something interesting. All the 3 muscles reaching to the thumb, forming the boundaries of the anatomical box. Regarding the origin, like there are 2 extensors, right? The extension, like this is the anatomical position of the hand, so this will be extension of the thumb, this is the flexion of the thumb, right? And this is abduction and this is adduction. So when you do it like at extension, right, extension of the thumb is like this, extension of the thumb. So when you do it, actually remember which bone is closer to the thumb, radius or ulna? Because you know that radius is closer to the thumb, so it will be easy for you now. So extensor pollicis brevis arises from radius because it's closer to the thumb. Then extensor pollicis longus, that will arise from ulna, right? And that was coming from the third compartment, that comes from the ulna. Then about abductor pollicis longus, it will be more easy. Remember that abductor pollicis longus arises from both radius and ulna as well as from the posterior aspect of the adjoining interosseous membrane. So that's about origin of these muscles. Now we'll be telling about the 4th compartment. The 4th compartment is actually compartment for the thickest tendon emerging out. So it is this tendon of extensor digitorum that passes through the 4th compartment, and along with another tendon, and that is extensor indicis. So 2 tendons emerge out from the 4th compartment, and you can see they are splitting into 4 tendons for the 4 digits, right? So these are the expanded tendons for the 4 digits, and you know that these tendons, they have a webbed aponeurosis. They are webbed. Can you see it here? So they are webbed, having a webbed attachment between it, and these web aponeurosis, they actually extend into the they merge with the dorsal digitorum expansion on the dorsum of the digits, right? Okay, so what I was saying is about these tendon extensor digitorum longus. Then in the same compartment there was another muscle, and can you see here the two muscles reaching to the index finger, right? One will be the tendon of extensor digitorum longus and another tendon is extensor indicis coming from the ulna. Both of them will merge here in the dorsal digitorum expansion and will reach to the terminal phalanx. And forget that when you're doing this thing, extension, right? Extension, but at the same time you can flex these joints because of long tendons on the palmar side. These are flexor pollicis, flexor digitorum profundus, flexor digitorum superficialis, right, for terminal proximal IP joints. But for MP joint, the flexion in MP joint, remember there were like 12 muscles, the 4 lumbaricals, the 4 palmar interossei, the 4 dorsal interossei. The 12 muscles are actually flexing this MP joint. But all these muscles, they're actually interesting muscles, but they reach out from these interdigital clefts and they emerge on the dorsal side, and then they merge with this dorsal digitorum expansion. So while you're doing this thing is actually a combined action, not only by these 12 muscles from the palmar side, but also combined action of extensor digitorum as well as extensor indicis. So this is like the position formed because of the combined action of the 12 muscles on the palmar side, 4 lumbaricals, 4 palmar, 4 dorsal interossei, as well as the extensor digitorum and the extensor indicis. That makes you bring it in this position. And remember what was happening, like in case of paralysis of these 12 muscles, and that was because of the injury to the lower trunk of brachial plexus club case paralysis. So what happens when these paralyze, your position of hand becomes this, right? And there will be hyperextension at MP joint and flexion at IP joints. So this position is a complete claw hand. So what was all about, it's just like I'm just making you revise few important points which can be asked in your exams for viva voce purpose. So this is about the extensor digitorum, and this is, and what else passes through this 4th compartment. Remember there was the neurovascular bundle on the dorsum of the back of forearm. It will be the posterior interosseous nerve, and that is posterior interosseous nerve is the deep branch of radial nerve. So posterior interosseous nerve also passes through this 4th compartment, and one important thing about this is that this nerve, posterior interosseous nerve in the 4th compartment sometimes also has a pseudoganglion. Okay, you must have seen some people with the bullous swelling here, and that is because of the pseudoganglion on the posterior interosseous nerve, the forearm. And what else is an artery? Very important thing, that artery passes, which artery passes through the 4th compartment, the extensor retinaculum. It's a very commonly people, when this comes in an exam, people will easily get confused. There will be option posterior interosseous artery, anterior interosseous artery. So remember the answer here is anterior interosseous artery. Although anterior interosseous artery was running here in the front of forearm, and dorsal interosseous artery, the posterior interosseous artery runs in the back of forearm. Both are branches of the common interosseous. The common interosseous is the branch of ulnar artery. So what happens is, because you have a bulk of space here, so the larger terminal branch of common interosseous is anterior interosseous artery. Now anterior interosseous artery, this interosseous membrane here between radius and ulna, at the junction of lower 1/3 and upper 2/3, here this anterior interosseous artery perforates this interosseous membrane and reaches the dorsal aspect of the forearm, and it reinforces this posterior interosseous artery, and then it's anterior interosseous artery that reaches on the back of forearm. So if they ask what artery passes below the extensor retinaculum through the 4th compartment, the answer is anterior interosseous artery. Okay, so then what remains is the 5th compartment. So remember that through the fifth compartment there will be a small muscle, and that muscle is extensor digiti minimi. Extensor digiti minimi. Not able to locate this muscle here, that has been dissected out. Extensor digiti minimi actually is passing through the fifth compartment, and the sixth compartment, remember, you can see this tendon. So this is this extensor carpi ulnaris. Extensor carpi ulnaris passes to the sixth compartment. So I think you can easily identify all of these tendons. If they simply ask and pick up this tendon, which muscle is this? Think about the structures passing through the retinaculum. You can identify it reaches to the little finger, right, to the base of the fifth metacarpal. So if this is extensor carpi ulnaris, you have a flexor carpi ulnaris on the palmar side. What happens if both the two tendons contract? There will be adduction of the wrist. So that was about the structures emerging or passing to the extensor retinaculum. Okay, thank you.